Hey there, bookish people, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sierra, also known as C's Library, and this video is going to be about my 24 favorite books in 2024. So let's get into it. As you may have already known, I read 145 books last year, which is a lot. I had 40 5-star reads out of my 145 reads last year, which is amazing that I got to so many great books. However, I had to narrow it down from those 40 to 24 books that I'm going to be talking about today. So that was difficult for me because I loved a lot of them, but we're going to be talking about those 24 books for 2024. So let's start out with my S tier, as you would. Books that I would give 6 stars if I was able to, or if that was in my rating system. The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas ended up being my #1 book of 2024. I don't think I've ever cried as much as I had with this book in my entire life. I loved this book. I read it first in the Throne of Glass series. I know there's different ways to read it, but it made such a huge impact on me as a writer, as a reader, as a person. And it made such a huge impact on my reading of the rest of the series. I actually like Throne of Glass series a lot because this is what I started out with. This is my introduction to our character. So I highly recommend this one. I loved it. I've been shoving it onto all of my friends so I can live vicariously through their experience because I am so sad that I will never get to read this for the first time again. So I highly recommend it. It was my favorite book of 2024. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker came in second for me. This was the book that really made me debate whether The Assassin's Blade was going to end up in #1 because it was so good. This book is a really big one, but I devoured through it because it was such a good book. Every page had me flipping to the next. I will definitely be giving it a reread before the sequel to the series, Ballad of Falling Dragons. So I love this book a lot. It came in second. The third book that I would give 6 stars if I had that in my rating system would be Belladonna. I loved this book. I devoured it. I immediately wanted to go buy the next 2 in the series, which I did. I, however, do not own the first one in the series, which is strange to have 2 and 3 on my shelves but not 1, but I will eventually get it. This book was so good. It is exactly the vibes that I was looking for when going into this book, and I wish I could read it again right now, but I don't have it, so eventually. But it is a amazing fantasy. It has a little bit of mystery into there and drama and other things, and I really really like this book. Okay, the next one up that I would have given 6 stars to is The Language of Trees. This is a collection of different writings from philosophers, poets, writers, scientists, etc. It is different forms of writing, but all surrounding trees, and it's different writers, so a anthology. I loved this book. It made me feel in awe of nature. It made me feel angry at how we've treated nature. I felt connected to nature. I just think this book is something that was really beautiful. The different writing styles really added to it. I love this book a lot, so this is definitely one of those 6 stars reads if I gave it those. Yeah. Now that my 6-star reads are out of the way, these next ones will probably zoom through a little bit faster. So let's get into my other 5-star reads for 2024. Lonely Castle in the Mirror. I read this, I think, in January of 2024, but I still think about this book. It's a fun, cozy read, Studio Ghibli-esque. I wish I could be transported into this world. I loved this book. Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows are both part of my 24 books for 2024. This duology was so good. I was obsessed with it. I'm still a little obsessed with it. It's great. It has war. It has fantasy, it has romance, it has drama, it has family issues. I genuinely don't see what else you could want in a duology. I also just love that it's a duology. They didn't try to push for it to be more than that. They're pretty smallish books. I love this series, and I do kind of wish there was more, but I love the way it ended. I love all of this, so those two. The next one up and I don't have a copy of it, is The Humans by Matt Haig. This was my first read by him earlier last year, and it was beautiful, heartwarming. It starts off a little strange. I didn't know if I was going to like it at first. But by the end of it, I felt kind of in awe of our species because it takes you to a perspective you don't usually see from the outside. So I loved it, and I do recommend it. It was a good one. The next one up on the list is What the River Knows. It is a intrigue. It is drama. It is mystery. It was a fun one. I loved it. I wanted to get into the sequel. It wasn't out by the time that I read the first one, so I'm hoping to read the second one soon. But I love that one. That was a good one. Easily part of my 24 for 2024. Next up on my list is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I felt like a new person after reading this. I felt like I could take on the world. And I genuinely think there's a perspective shift when you read this book that you'll never fully part with. I'm not saying it's going to stick with you forever without you rereading it or refreshing your brain on it, but this book was so helpful for seeing how to actually make the changes I want in my life. So I genuinely think this is a book everyone should read. I think this is easily in my 24 for 2024, and I love this book. Next up for me would be World of Wonders. I read this in December, so it's pretty recent for me, and I loved it. I have all these little sticky notes for different stories that I liked, but it's all these different beautiful stories about nature, about different creatures in the world, and things you wouldn't really think twice about. So I really loved it. I think the art style is really beautiful in here. And I would recommend this one if you want to get to know more about our world. Next up would be Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I finally got to this book, and I did really love it. It was pretty slow at first for me, but after that, I really got addicted to it. It's really good. I'm hoping to read the second one. Probably not before Onyx Storm comes out, but I will be reading the rest of the series probably. I liked it. This was a good one. Next up would be The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This was my second book by him, and I loved it. I honestly want to read more of him, but this is a very hopeful, inspiring book. It made me feel at peace with myself. I feel like there's a lot of things we don't talk about mental health and stuff. And it's not that it explicitly talks about that in here, but it really helps to reshift my mind on things. To read a story like this, so beautiful and inspiring and hopeful. So I highly recommend this to others, especially those going through things. I feel like this is one that could really help people. Next up would be The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This one doesn't have like a big message you need to figure out or a lot of drama. It's a cozy book. It was perfect. I read it in October, and I needed that type of cozy, no drama feels for that time, especially with so much going on, holidays and otherwise. So I love this book. I would highly recommend it. It is just a cozy little small town book about spells and things like that. Yeah, this is a good one. Next up in my 24 for 2024 would be A Mirror Mended and A Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. Anyways, they are retellings of classic Disney stories, but in the eyes of a more feminist, lesbian take on things. I loved it. They're small books. I got them from the library early last year. But I like them. They made me feel really happy reading those ones, so I do recommend them, but it's not everyone's style, especially retelling such a classic story in such a different way. I know not everyone likes those types of things, but I loved it, so I do want that on my 24 in 2024. Next up is this little kid's book, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. I loved this book. I loved getting to see things from a different perspective. This is from the perspective of a little stuffed bunny who's on his own journey, and I genuinely needed this, an easy, fun, and somehow still life-changing read. It is a kid's book, but it did have such a good message to it, with all these different characters going through their own journeys, And I love this one. Yeah, this was a good one. And this was in my 6 Friends, 6 Reads. So I thank my friend who recommended it. Next up is Reckless by Lauren Roberts. Obviously, this is going to be in this list. If you know me, you know I love the Powerless series. This one was so good. And I'm so excited to read the third one this year. So this one is part of my 24 for 2024. Next up would be How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. I read the Cruel Prince series last year, and it was really good. However, this book was easily better than all the rest of them to me because it was so beautiful seeing it from a different perspective. The art in here is amazing. See if I can open this up anyway. But I mean, I love this one. This one was great. So I recommend this one. I started off 2024. My first read of the year was ACOTAR. And I wasn't too much of a fan of that one. But once I got into the series, and the next one on our list is A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is hands down the best in the series. I don't want to argue with you about that. It just is. It was fun. It was adventurous. It was dramatic. It was romancy. It was everything I wanted in it. And that's my favorite book of ACOTAR so far. So that one is in this list. The next 3 in this list are all from the Throne of Glass series. It includes Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, and Kingdom of Ash. All 3 of those were amazing. I would say any of the books from Throne of Glass could easily go on this list. That would just take up too much space. So I thought these 3, along with the Assassin's Blade, were the best of the Throne of Glass series. I loved them. I loved Kingdom of Ash, the ending, and all of it. I'm obsessed with this series, and I need to own a copy myself, but I do not yet. So that's that. 2 mangas have made this list for 2024. I read a few mangas, but these 2 were the only ones that I felt stood out for my 24 and 2024 when I was making this list, and that is Villains Are Destined to Die and 7 Time Loop. I loved these ones. I only got to volume 1 of each of these last year, but I'm hoping to read more, and I'm hoping to watch them. I already watched 7 Time Loop, the anime, but I loved this manga, and I will be definitely reading more of them. And that's it for my 24 books in 2024. I loved all of these books. I loved that they were part of my 2024 journey. I think that was one of my best years yet, and I'm so excited to see what 2025 will bring me. If we had any of these books in common, please leave a comment down below letting me know, because I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these books if you read them in 2024 or in the past. I just want to talk to you guys about books. It's so fun being a part of this community. So thank you guys so much for watching, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and happy reading. Hey there! What? As you may already know, I'd read... So let's start with what my blah 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 blah.